people, Tracy Reed here today, coming at you with a life crafted page in my 2023 album. I realized that I never got around to scrapbooking my teaching adventures last year, so I thought that the Into the Blue collection, the travel portion of it, would be a good background for these photos of me traveling from Nashville to Burbank. Especially this palm tree paper that has a very California vibe to it to me. So I decided that I'm going to use that green paper and the ledger paper as my background, and then I'm going to tear this palm tree paper and I'm going to create some texture with some tearing. Now, since I am leaning heavily only into the travel pieces of the Into the Blue collection, not the very oceanic vibe with all of the adorable ocean characters, I don't have as much to work with as I would if I was using the whole collection. So part of the way that I'm going to combat that is a lot of pattern happening in the background here, as well as three different photos that are going to take up quite a bit of space. Now I am working at life crafted size, so I do have that split in the middle. So I'm going to put this large photo of the view out of the plane window directly in the middle. It's going to be a little bit off-centered so that it cuts down the middle of the water rather than like the airplane wing. I don't know, felt a little weird to cut down the airplane wing, so I'm going to off center it just slightly. But first I'm going to use some of these extra paper strips that I have sitting around just to add a few more rows of texture and pattern. I liked the way that those little snippets of torn paper looked on this page. Now the majority of it is going to get covered up, so it's just going to be a suggestion of these torn paper pieces, but I really like the way that they play off of each other on either side of this page. I think it looks pretty cool. So I'm going to do one more because I decided that I needed this ticket page, this travel paper to be on this side as well. So I tore the top and bottom, trimmed it down to the right size, and then I'm going to put it right here with the blue palm trees just underneath, a little bit tucked in. And that gives me a good place to start putting my photos and like giving me a good grounding point to make sure that my composition looks well put together. So you can see how those two torn pieces on the right sort of meet where the torn pieces hit on the left hand side. I think that's kind of a neat vibe, even though it does mostly get covered up. I know it's there, and I think it looks pretty cool. You can still see the suggestion of it with the photo on top. Okay, so this keeps coming apart. It wasn't as stuck as I thought it was going to be. I'm actually going to leave these two papers, or these two sides of the page stuck together, mostly for the whole layout, just so that it's easier to work with as all is one piece. I don't want any sort of angling of the photos for this page. I think that the angles of the tears work just fine for some movement, so we're going to make sure that they are nice and straight. I'm going to tuck it underneath this torn paper just because I think it looks cool. Alright, that is the basic composition, so let's start adding some of these embellishments. I always forget that these, every time I try and use them, these vellum stickers get completely see-through, so I'm going to learn that lesson here in a minute. I'm just going to go through all of these tags and bits and bobs to see if I can start making sense of what I want to use. Now, these are some larger tags. They would work well on my 12 by 12 layouts that I've been doing, but they don't quite fit on this smaller size. So I'm going to lean heavier into these smaller bits and pieces and kind of let that "Let's Travel" be the largest embellishment piece on the page for the moment. And I decided I want to use all three of these tabs, and I'm going to put where I'm going, or where I am, where I'm going on two of them. And I think that that will take up some nice room and tell part of the story, obviously. I really wanted to use this card, but it was just too large. I thought that I could layer that one behind everything, but again, it would take away from most of the actual view of that palm tree. So, oh well. We're just gonna go with the ephemera instead and a little bit of chipboard. So I'm gonna speed this up while I'm peeling these bits and pieces. And you can see me putting this down and going, oh, nope, that's not gonna work. So what I do is I just put it right back on its white background. Should have never taken it off, but I always have to learn that lesson the hard way. And I'm just gonna stick it right back underneath there. No big deal. Now it's just a cardstock piece instead. All right, so we're gonna put all these aside, and I decided that I'm going to add my journaling onto this journaling card that I cut in half rather than write it directly onto the background piece. I think that the whole composition needs some weight at the bottom of the page, so I think that that will work. I could have just written on the background. It is a ledger piece, but I think that the white card adds just a little bit to the page and makes it, I don't know, it just made it feel a little bit more complete. When I add the words to it, it makes a little bit more sense what I'm saying. I'm going to add a couple of these word bits. Speaking of words, these are from the memory keeping sticker sheet. Those gray hairs are from my children. And then I'm going to add one more here. Then I'm going to go ahead and add in my journaling to the card so that I can finish off the composition for how I want that to go. And you can see I tucked it up nice and neat underneath the papers so that it didn't hang down so low. But now I got this weird blank spot here that's kind of bugging me. So I'm trying to figure out what I can put there that's going to make sense and not just feel like I shoved something there to fill in the blank spot. And I do like this tag a lot. I feel like there should be something written on it, but I tuck it up underneath the collage enough that it feels like it doesn't quite need it. Maybe not. It still feels a little bit blank to me, but I'm going to stick it up there a little bit more. Going to add in a title, and it's going to say teach in these letters, and the whole title is going to say ready, set, teach. I was heading off to ready, set, create to teach, so I thought that that was a good title. Sorry, I moved a little bit low. I'm not quite sure what happened here. I think I zoomed in a little bit farther than I intended to when I was filming this part of the video, but you only miss a couple of things, and you can see them at the end. I'm going to shove some more ephemera back here. And then I end up adding a sticker at the bottom of the page and the date stamp, and that's it. So if you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you. If you don't already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Tracy M. Reed. I'd love to see you over there as well. There is a link to Cocoa Daisy in the description box below. If there are any Into the Blue collections left over, you can pick them up there. All right, thank you.